like Chad Bianco, Katie Porter, and Eric Swalwell, who were not there, but most of them showed up and sort of debated for 2.5 hours. We're going to discuss that and break down some of the highlights so that you didn't have to sit through the 2.5 hours, all on tonight's episode of the California Underground, starting right now. What's going on, everybody? Thanks for tuning into another episode of the California Underground. I am your host, Phil. Tonight, we are going to do some highlights from last week's gubernatorial debate, audio technical difficulties, and everything. We sat through 2.5 hours of that debate, so you didn't have to. That's the whole point. We do this all for you. And before we get started, I want to bring in my trusty co host, the best, the fastest researcher in the West, Camille. Good evening. How are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Well, I made it through the 2.5 hours of that debate. I know we were texting back and forth about how awful that was. And just, I mean, we can start there. Like, we can just say our initial thoughts. It was boring. It was a boring debate. I feel like nothing really happened in that debate. That's why the title of tonight's episode is They Debated Sort of, because I don't think they actually debated each other. They just kind of grandstanded and used the time to talk about themselves. Like, there was maybe some jabs thrown by Steve Hilton, but outside of that, there wasn't really anything. It wasn't a debate. It was more of a showcase.
We were joking about the photos for the thumbnail for the YouTube. Like, do we need photos of us yawning, sleeping? Like, because
Yeah,
it
I
just
kept watching.
wasn't that exciting.
I mean, let's put it this way: we are two political nerds who are, knee deep in this every single day because we enjoy it and we're passionate about it. And even I was checking the time on this video going, man, this thing's not over yet. Like, what is going? And then they had an intermission. I'm like, oh geez, we're only halfway through this
Yeah,
thing.
like we're only 45 minutes into this. What?
I'm like, what? Usually I love a good debate and I love to sit there and take all but I'm like, I don't. But either way, for all the people who, we know last week during the live stream, there were people who jumped out, watched it, and then they came back and they were like, yeah, it's kind of pretty brutal what's going on over there. So we cut to the chase and we're giving you the cliff notes with our commentary. I'm really glad we didn't go through with our idea of sitting there and live streaming it. It may have made it a little bit more entertaining if you and I actually live stream the whole debate and edit our commentary, but that has a lot of nothing going on. I don't know if I could have come up with anything to say for
I
two and a half
rarely
hours.
even drink alcohol, and I would have needed alcohol. Because when I watched it, I had to pause so many times just because I just got bored. Sorry, we're like talking so much about it versus watching it. But I love a good debate too. And honestly, the best as far as California politics go, when Gavin Newsom challenged Ron DeSantis to that debate, that was kind of the most interesting thing, most interesting debate I've seen in a while. I want more of that. I
That was
do,
good.
even though they were not running for the same seat, I wanna see more of that because I think it's good. I think it's actually healthy. Yes, raise issues on both sides.
Hmm.
Give me more of that.
Yeah, why not? Why does every debate have to be around an election and not just people who want to debate their ideas? I thought that was a good debate because neither of them were running for anything. They were both firmly entrenched as governor of their own state. Um, and a lot of times, like, you watch this debate tonight or the one that we're going to go over, and so much of it is just like you're not getting answers. You're getting so much fluff that it's really annoying because you're like, give me something to grapple onto here. You're all just saying the same thing. Some of them say the same thing over and over again to the
Yeah.
point of I want to pull my hair out, Tony Thurman. But all right, before we got a lot to cover tonight. We pulled at least a couple topics for you tonight. We're going to start off with their opening statement so you can be introduced to all of the players, and we're going to be pausing and stuff throughout and giving our commentary. So Also, be watching the chat. Hi, everybody in the chat. Let us know where you're checking in from, whether you're in California or anywhere over all across the nation. So let's get started with that
And
first
please
clip.
add your comments about the debate.
Yes.
Would
Yeah.
love
Make
to
sure
hear
you add
from
your
you.
comments in the chat as well. If you haven't watched this debate, you'll be
Real
watching it
quick,
with us. Yeah.
I wanna say this going in, I sincerely do not know who I'm voting for governor. I'm probably gonna say things that are gonna sound biased, but I sincerely and Phil, I tell him, like, every day, I send him a text, I'm like, "Well, I don't like this. Oh, I like this." I just
Yeah.
we're never going to endorse anyone here anyway, but I just sincerely don't know yet who I'm voting for.
Yeah.
Hopefully there'll be more debates or whatever, because I do need to make up my mind at some point. So I just anything that I say, please don't take that as like, well, that's obviously her. I don't know.
Yeah.
So
I'm in the same boat. I don't know who I'm voting for. And this debate certainly didn't help me make it made me actually like all of them less because they were so unimpressive. So, all right, let's get started with these opening statements.
I am the first in my family to have a chance to graduate from a university. Right now, we need leadership that knows how to govern through crises, whether it's the man-made crises coming out of Washington, D.C., or if it's the affordability crises that we see here at home. As your AG, I did exactly that. I governed through crises. I defended the Affordable Care Act and the DACA program for Dreamers all the way to the Supreme Court and beat Donald Trump in the Supreme Court. I took on Donald Trump over and over. How many times? Over 120 court actions against Donald Trump, and we kept winning. As your Secretary of Health and Human Services, I protected you during the global pandemic. I made sure that we negotiated lower prescription drug prices for the first time in history, and I balanced a budget 5 times larger.
If we were doing this live, I definitely would have created a drinking game where every time they mentioned Donald Trump, we had to take a drink.
I was gonna
Um,
say that. That was one of my
but
comments. And
uh,
go
go
ahead.
ahead.
Sorry. Were
No,
you
you
done?
go. No,
Okay.
you go.
No, I just wanted to say because we didn't this is Xavier Becerra, and, I the man-made crisis in Washington, DC, and the affordability crisis in California, I don't even know what he's talking about. I know there's an affordability crisis in California, but what is he talking about the man-made crisis in DC? Isn't the affordability crisis in California also man-made? I sincerely was like, "What are you even talking about here?" So
Yeah, that was his dig at Trump, and yeah, he sued Trump 120 times, which is not like I don't know. That's not really a brag. You were the attorney general, and you have unlimited taxpayer funds to go sue Donald Trump. So cool. How many of those did anything, and how many were just tossed
sounds
out?
like we know where the affordability crisis in California may have come from.
Maybe from an overbloated attorney general who spends all their time suing Donald Trump and not doing what they're supposed to, like going after illegal grows in Northern California. But whatever.
In the state of California. That's what I bring to the table as your next governor.
Mr.
Also, just as a pretext, they were told the audience don't clap as much. So if it sounds like awkward that nobody's doing anything, it's because they were told not to clap.
Yeah, but they clap
Mr.
for
Hill.
all the Democrats, and then they pay attention. Steve Hilton doesn't get much clapping. The one
No,
Republican.
Steve is the one person who doesn't get a lot of love in the room. It's also in San Francisco. It's at the Opera House in San Francisco, old Opera House or something in San Francisco.
Yeah.
Mr. Hilton, why should voters send you to Sacramento?
California needs an outsider to shake up a system that is obviously not working. I love California, but after 16 years of one-party rule by these Democrats, we've got the highest poverty, the highest unemployment, the highest cost of living in America. It is time for some balance. I was raised in a working-class family. I worked construction, started businesses of my own. For the last 3 years, I've been traveling our state, listening to Californians. I understand what needs to change. We need to end the Democrats' climate crusade so we can have $3 gas and cut your electric bills in half. We need to end the fraud and waste in government so we can cut taxes, your first 100 grand, tax-free. We need to end the insane regulations that make it so expensive to own your own home. You're going to hear a lot of promises tonight. But remember, these are the people who got us into this mess. It is time for an outsider with positive, practical plans for change, not more of the same.
Mayor Mahan, why should you be the one to head up the state of California?
Well, good evening. Thank you all.
I'm just going to go ahead and spoil the ending for you. According to the poll that was conducted afterwards of viewers, by 53%, Steve Hilton won the debate.
Oh, interesting.
So
Okay.
he was like the shock winner. But it's probably because he was the only Republican and the rest were Democrats. But a lot of the
Okay.
comments on the video were people saying Steve made the most common sense solutions or common sense points.
Yeah, I like what he said. Like, I don't disagree with what he said, except for the outsider part.
Mhm.
I don't think that's necessary. I'm sad if we don't have a state of how many people, 40 million people, we don't have someone inside the state that is not an outsider that can do a good job. That's weird. But
And thank you all for being here. I want to thank the Black Action Alliance and KTVU for gathering us in this historic hall. We're all here tonight to earn your votes. But we need California leaders to do something much harder: restore your trust. Whether you agree with me or not, I want you to know that my vision for getting California back to basics isn't driven by a need to win one election. It's driven by my passion for creating the change that we need to make all of our lives better. In this campaign, I'm going to show you the respect of telling you the truth as I see it for how we can actually lower costs, end unsheltered homelessness, make all of our communities safer, and expand economic opportunity for everyone. That's why I'm in this campaign, because you deserve real answers, not the easy ones.
Mr. Steyer, why should voters hand the keys to you?
Well, I want to start by thanking the Black Action Alliance for getting us here on the 100th anniversary of Black History.
So it's in San Francisco. It's the Black Action Alliance who's hosting it. Just to give you a context of the crowd, and we'll hear later on their reaction to Steve Hilton.
Anniversary of Black History Month. I'm running because the number one problem in California is that Californians can't afford to live here anymore. And I'm going to go after those costs aggressively, and I have a history of getting results. I come from a family that believes in service. My mom was a teacher. My dad was a Navy vet. I started a business. It went really well, and I walked away from it 14 years ago to give back.
no,
You're
no,
shaking
you
your
didn't.
head.
You didn't walk away. He loves to use that statement. Politicians, he didn't walk away from a business. He acts like he just like threw a match, lit it, and walked out. Now, he sold it. He got so much freaking money for it, which yay, that's great. That's capitalism. Like, I am all for that, but stop mincing words.
Yeah, he tries to make it sound like he was doing so well and he was such a big successful person that his pull to be in public service, he just walked away from it all. It's like, no, you made a lot of money to walk away from that business. So people talking about Bianco, he couldn't make it. It was Bianco, Katie Porter, and Eric Swalwell. Swalwell was still in DC. Katie Porter, I don't know, was busy doing something with whiteboards. And Bianco, I think, was at a sheriff's convention that he already made he already had said he was going to be at the sheriff's convention, like a national sheriff's convention or something.
Yeah, it was like
So,
some sort of training or something.
yeah, he had already committed to it. So he stuck with the first thing.
I took the giving pledge to guarantee that I'd give the bulk of my money away before I died. And during those 14 years, I took on the special interests in California on behalf of working families. I delivered billions of dollars to this state without charging Californians a penny. I'll continue to do that as your governor. In a world where politicians routinely serve special interests, I can't be bought.
Superintendent Thurman.
Oh, I'm sorry. Just, that whole, it's like a movie trailer. In a world.
In a world where politicians in special interest, I can't be bought.
Chairman, why should you be the 41st governor?
Good evening, everyone. For the last 18 years, it's been my honor to serve you as your council member, school board member, state assembly member, and twice as your state superintendent. Together, we provided free preschool for every 4-year-old in our state, free meals for every hungry student, $4 billion in mental health programs, and $6 billion to make sure we close the digital divide in this state once and for all. As your governor, I'm going to build 2 million housing units.
This is also, if we were drinking every time Tony Thurmond said 2 million houses, we would be dead, because he
Also
says that
Texas.
literally every answer he says, he brings it back to he wants to build 2 million houses. Now, Gavin Newsom promised when he was governor, he's going to build 3.5 million houses. And I think he's built, and I don't know how you gauge how the governor and the state government builds housing, but I think he's only built like 180,000. So he's a little off. Better speed it up if he wants to meet that goal before the end of this year. So one thing I noticed about Tony Thurmond during this whole debate, he was the superintendent for all public school here in California. No one attacked him on the fact that our education is in the toilet. Did you notice that? No one, and that's why I say, like, this wasn't really a debate, because there was so much stuff to attack Tony Thurmond on, say like education is in the toilet. Like, what did you do while you were superintendent? Because it's obviously not good, because we're like 38th and 39th in education. Like, reading scores are way down, math scores are way down. So
Yeah, it kind of feels like they almost didn't know a lot about who they were debating.
yeah, it was a weird debate. It was a boring debate, but here we are.
And provide housing for the homeless. I'm going to provide you with a tax credit so you have more money in your pocket every month to pay for the rising costs of gas, of groceries, and housing. And as your governor, I'm going to continue to fight against this Trump administration, as I've done with my.
Yeah, okay, sorry. We're never gonna get through this. So while we all appreciate a tax credit, I think most of us just want the cost of everything to be lowered so that we don't need that tax credit. Like, let's address why the rising cost of groceries, why gas is so out of control, electricity, everything in California. I don't need to go down the whole list. Why is everything here so expensive and unaffordable? And hooray for looking forward to a tax credit every year if you're even eligible for it. But let's tackle the other issues so that
Mhm.
the tax credit is not what we need or what we're looking forward to, or saving grace for any sort of affordability.
Yeah, he talks about that during they talk about gas in California, and he said that he would not support drilling for more oil and gas here in California.
Of course
And
not.
his solution was a tax credit, which doesn't make sense, because he wants to give a tax credit so people can save a couple $100 on gas. Why not just get rid of the gas tax? Because now you're reducing revenue at one point, but you're not reducing revenue through the gas tax. Like, it doesn't, I don't know, it doesn't really add up to me. Like, just get rid of the gas tax, or just get gas and oil from here, like here in
Right.
California.
And
So,
remember, folks, if you're getting any sort of tax back from the government, that just means that they held on to your money, earning interest that you could have been earning interest on yourself. So,
yep, yeah. That's such an important thing that people don't realize, is you're loaning the government money and they give it back to you. It could have been sitting in your savings account or your portfolio making you money, but no, you lent it to the government for absolutely no interest. But they give it back to you. So that's nice of them.
With my legislation that keeps ICE out of our schools and out of our hospitals, and my new legislation that says any company that operates or supports an ICE detention center will be taxed. I will work
yay.
with Congress until we abolish ICE and we create a pathway to citizenship. A better California is possible, and together we will build it.
Mayor Villaraigosa, why should voters choose you?
They should choose me because I'm here today because there's a Civil Rights Act and a Voting Rights Act. I grew up in a tough neighborhood with a mother, single.
Because this is like the fourth time I'm running for this. Please elect me. Like, it feels like Antonio Villaraigosa has been running for governor for 20 years.
It also feels like he showed up and had no idea where he was and what he was debating.
Yeah, a lot of times he kind of just stared off, and he miscalculated a lot of his stats and facts and stuff like that. And you're like, Tony, come on, man. It might be time for you to hang it up, man. Like, you're just not as sharp as you used to be.
Single mother who struggled to make ends meet. I understood growing up back then that to whom much is given, much is expected. My entire life, I have fought for justice, fought to open up the door. I've said many times that the role of the first is not to bang on your chest and say how great I am. The role of the first is to bring in the rest. And I've done that. I was a civil rights leader, president of the ACLU, labor leader. You forgot to mention, I was Speaker of the California State Assembly before I became mayor. Balanced.
I don't know why it's so funny that he had to check what finger he put up, because he like put up one and he's like, is that one finger? Is that one? Oh yeah, that's okay. I put up one finger. Okay, one. Like, he had to check to make sure he put up the right finger. Is that one? What? Okay.
I'm dying over here right now. He
Poor
starts
Villaraigosa.
off with, I'm sorry. He starts off with like, I was taught to be humble, basically, like, don't, beat on my own chest. But let me tell you,
I was
let me
taught to
beat
be
on my own
humble,
chest.
but also I was Speaker of the Assembly. You forgot
And
to
you
mention
forgot
that.
to mention that.
Oh, okay. Thanks, Tony.
I'm sorry, you guys. I'm just cracking up over here right now.
Yeah, oh boy. Let's keep
balance two budgets with a surplus, more money for education. As mayor, crime went down 50%, graduation rates went up 60%, put 275,000 people to work in the worst recession. I'd be honored to be your mayor, your governor, and your mayor.
Miss
forgot what
Yee,
he was
why
running
should
for.
voters hand the keys to you?
Good evening. It's good to be home and to stand in this historic landmark theater. I grew up with my 5 siblings and immigrant parents in a studio apartment. I went to public school here and made my way through UC Berkeley and built a career as an expert in California's finances. I went on to win 2 statewide elections and became California's state controller as the underdog candidate and was reelected with the highest number of votes of any statewide candidate in California history. Although as controller, I manage hundreds of billions of dollars, I never forget from where I come and how hard it is for people to earn every single dollar. Small businesses are still the heart of our economy. And at 8 years old, I did the bookkeeping for my parents' dry cleaning business. I remember the weeks when we didn't have enough money for milk on the table. Some say I'm an underdog now, but that fuels me. I've exceeded expectations all my life, and I'm not stopping here. If you feel like an underdog, exhausted, worn out, and counted out, know that I see you as your governor. I will fix the state budget so that it works for all of our hardworking Californians. Thank you.
All right, Betty Yee, if you don't know who she is, it's not surprising. She's been the controller for how many years? Controller is basically the treasurer of the state. And based on how much we are mismanaging fraud and where the money's going, I think she should be disqualified almost immediately based on the fact that this state spends way too much money, has no idea where it goes. They even ask about like the $24 billion. I don't know if we'll get to that. The $24 billion in homelessness. And one of her answers was, oh yeah, I think we have to make sure we're accountable. We have to be accountable to all the dollars we spend. That's your job. That's literally your job, is to make sure that you're accountable to all the money that you bring in and spend as the controller. But now all of a sudden she's going to be accountable for all the money that goes out. So I think she should be disqualified right away. But, I don't make the rules. If I did, I would say, you're out. You've mismanaged our money. Any thoughts before our next clip?
Uh, Question for the chat. Did any of you even realize she was running? Like, I'm not gonna lie, when I watched this and all of a sudden she was there, I was like, wait, did I just completely forget this woman is running? Um,
I don't think
it,
anybody. I would. Yeah, she's not a prominent name. I remember her announcing, and I forgot she was running because she's
I
been overshadowed.
completely forgot. And
She's got to be
I have
polling in the
no
low.
idea what being an underdog has anything to do with if you feel like you're an underdog, I see you. Like I don't get how that translates to voting for her for governor. I'm at a loss there.
Well, we're going to move into immigration. This might be one of the more spicy topics for tonight, and it features Steve Hilton getting a little sassy.
Immigration, of course. We've seen the crackdowns that are happening across the country, protests, deadly violence in places like Minnesota. My question to all the candidates on the stage tonight is, what is your message to those who are in this country legally, those who are undocumented, and California families in general? Mr. Hilton, I'd like to start with you.
Before we go on, I really think I need to address the elephant in the room, or perhaps, as some might say, the rhino who's not in the room. My Republican colleague, Chad Bianco, is not here tonight to face these Democrats or his record. In 2020, during the Black Lives Matter riots, he took a knee when told to by BLM. Now he says he was praying. Well, watch the video for yourself at blmbianco.org. That is blmbianco.org. We cannot risk splitting the Republican vote and letting the Democrats in. Chad Bianco has got more baggage than LAX. We cannot have BLM Bianco, the shifty sheriff, as our candidate. Chad Bianco, he needs to drop out of this race, just as he dropped out of tonight's debate. On the question of immigration, it's very clear. I'm a legal immigrant. I am here for the legal immigrant.
Well, I guess we can just jump right in right there. I don't know what the purpose of that was. I guess we're gearing up for the primaries are coming up in June to figure out like who's going to be a nominee for the Republican Party. Um, I don't know why he's attacking Bianco. It came off as like Bianco's not there. There's no reason to bring up Bianco. Like you actually benefit from the fact that you're the sole Republican on the stage and he's not there. You could have just presented all of your options and said, I'm different. I'm different than all these Democrats on here who most of them have been in state government for 20 years. That's why we have all these problems. All of them promise they're going to fix it, but none of them have fixed it. That could have been your perfect opportunity to really differentiate yourself. And he does a good job of differentiating himself and saying, like, I'm different than all these Democrats. I just don't understand why going after Bianco was necessary in that way. Maybe it's because he's leading by like a point in the polls, but again, these polls move so quickly. It's just, it didn't make sense to me. It just came out of left field. This was probably the spiciest moment of the whole debate. It was a debate between Bianco and Hilton. Bianco wasn't even there. So, what were your thoughts when you first saw this?
So this was the second question after introductions. This was the second question because I know if you didn't watch the debate and were to show you these clips, you don't know where this clip fell within the 2.5 hours. And so they have a minute to answer these questions, and the question was regarding ICE and immigration. And I almost feel like he used this as a deliberate way to kind of dodge the question to be safe. But it's funny because this is an event put on by the Black, what is it called? The Black Alliance.
Black Action
The Black,
Committee or something?
yeah, in San Francisco. And he's like, he took the knee. And I would think the audience would be like, oh, sweet. He bent for us. Like he was on our side, you know? I mean,
Yeah.
if that's probably who the main audience is, I think he just kind of gave Bianco fly, sorry, a point there. Oh my God, I'm like being attacked. So yeah, he only has a minute to answer this question, and we don't really get to hear his answer to the question. And so I don't know if that was his way of just avoiding the question or if he just really wanted to get this job in. And like you said, his time would have been better spent saying, unlike my, everyone, my opponents here on the stage, this is where I would, because of X, Y, and Z. And we don't get it from him. And I think it's a really important question, especially right now.
Yeah, it's just gonna get it's gonna get ugly. I feel like between these two, for for really no reason for them to fight. Well, I mean, I guess they figure one of them's got to end up being probably the top Republican who moves on to the actual general election, and one of them's going to be nominated by the Republican Party here in California. So it's time to start
Technically,
fighting
they
each other.
both move on to the general.
Technically, they could both move on to the general. It's a jungle primary. They could both get the most votes in the primary and fight each other. But yeah, it just felt really out of place. But let's keep going with everyone else's responses to immigration.
The legal immigrant community so they can have the California dream. And I will make sure that all laws, including our immigration laws, are peacefully enforced.
Mr. Hilton, thank you so much. Mayor Mahan, I'd like to get your answer to the question is, what is your message to Californians, including immigrant communities?
Well, the way that the Trump administration is enforcing immigration law is dividing us, creating fear. And now we're seeing cases where residents' rights, civil liberties are being threatened. San Jose, we've sued the administration to defend our civil liberties. We've passed rules around law enforcement not unnecessarily wearing masks. We've ensured that the federal government can't commandeer public space for these activities. But the reality on immigration is both parties have failed us. The truth is, it makes sense to have a secure border and know who and what comes into the country, to have orderly immigration, but we should not be demonizing people who are here to do the most American thing, which is work hard and create a better future for their kids. But we need to create a legal path for people who want to be here and are as American in their desires and actions as any of us. And we should come together, get the partisan politics out of the way, and create a compromise path forward that respects our values as Americans.
Don't we have legal paths?
Mr. Steyer?
Like, aren't there already created legal paths?
Yeah. Just because if you choose not to use them, I guess it's not really. The interesting thing about, I don't know if we'll hear it in this clip, these are California Democrats running for governor, and it almost sounds like they're inching back closer to Bill Clinton Democrats on immigration, and they all sound very moderate in the sense of, yes, we need a secure border, yes, we need to enforce our laws. So to me, it almost sounds like, what I take from that is that their internal polling shows that immigration and enforcing immigration laws and securing the border is still very popular with voters and independent voters. So I think the inside baseball is that is still very popular, and Democrats realize that, and they're all trying to moderate their positions on immigration. They've come way back from open borders and let everybody in and nobody's illegal and all that, to yes, we need a secure border, and yes, we need to enforce our immigration laws, but we need to do it blah 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 and whatever else they want to add on to it.
Yeah.
Mr. Steyer?
Yeah, go ahead.
No, sorry. I just said it feels like safe answers.
Yeah, they were very safe, but you would think in a state like California, you wouldn't have to worry about being safe. You could be very radical. And it just felt like they were all very moderate, except for one of them. I think one of them was a little out there.
Mr. Steyer, if you become the state's next top lawmaker, immigrant families are going to be looking to you. What is your message to them and to Californians?
This country was built by immigrants. This state doesn't work without immigration. Of course, we need to have a fair, just system, but this is the exact opposite of that. I'm very straightforward about this. ICE should be abolished. You really can't reform an organization which is absolutely wrong and criminal from top to bottom. But I think we have to look at this ICE example as just the start of what the Trump administration is very clearly trying to do. They are trying to use terror, they are trying to use violence, and they are starting with immigration, but they're not going to end with immigration. I started a grassroots effort to impeach Mr. Trump in 2017 because I could see he had a criminal administration. That hasn't changed. It's accelerated. It's gotten bigger, and it's not going to stop. The governor of California needs to stand up for the values of Californians, immigrants and non-immigrants alike.
The obvious is you can jump up and down as much as you want as California governor and say you want to abolish ICE. You won't, because that's not your job. And to all that talk about impeaching Donald Trump, you spent millions of dollars on a campaign to impeach Trump, and he's now serving his second term. So money well spent, Tom Steyer. Money well spent.
Superintendent Thurman, we heard you mention about schools. Talk to us about what you would tell immigrant communities here in California and California families in general.
My maternal grandparents were immigrants. They came here from Colombia, from Jamaica. My mother born in Panama, a teacher here in California. On my dad's side, they were immigrants too, the descendants of slaves by way of Detroit and Mississippi, all coming here for a better life. My grandparents cleaned bathrooms for a living. And we have to create a real path for citizenship for those who want nothing more than to work hard and pay taxes and contribute to the American dream for all of us. And that's why I passed the legislation that keeps ICE out of our schools.
What was that?
I want nothing more than to pay taxes.
You want nothing more than pay.
And as we said, the folks who want to work hard and want nothing more than to work hard and pay taxes.
That's whatever the American dream is.
Is
To
that
work really hard.
Did I miss this?
Yeah, that's the American dream. Not to own a house, raise a family, or anything like that. Have a good job, stable life, stable future. No, the American dream is to work hard and pay your taxes, because we're all just serfs in this feudal system of California.
And out of our hospitals. I mean, people are afraid to even see a doctor. And when I am governor, I will restore universal health care for all, including undocumented immigrants in the state of California, because we know that health care is a right. We will abolish ICE. We will create a pathway to citizenship.
You can't abolish ICE, you moron. Now I know why our schools are failing. Now I know why education is 39th or whatever in the state. Because idiots like Tony Thurman think you can abolish ICE as governor of California. You can't abolish ICE. It's a federal program. It's a federal agency. Oh my gosh. They will say anything to just try and get people to vote for him. Abolish ICE. What was the other thing he said?
Universal health care.
Oh, universal health care.
Wasn't the question about keeping ICE out of schools?
Yes, it was about, ICE in schools. But first off, we never had universal health care in California. You want universal health care in California. You keep pushing for it, and Democrats in Sacramento keep pushing for it because they think it's the greatest idea ever. We can't afford universal health care. Gavin Newsom signed an order to allow for undocumented immigrants of any age to get onto Medi-Cal, and less than a year later, it broke Medi-Cal to the point where they had to borrow money to keep it afloat for a month. $6 billion to keep it afloat for a month, because you let too many people onto Medi-Cal. And he's basically admitting, I'm going to bring all those people back onto Medi-Cal without any plan of how he's going to pay for it.
Taxes. The
yeah.
American dream is to pay taxes.
The American dream, like he said, is to work hard and pay taxes. This is why I said this whole debate just made me angry. It just made me like all these people even less.
And right now, I have legislation that puts a tax on any single company in California that does business with ICE and ICE detention centers.
Mayor Garosa, your message to immigrant communities in California.
I've never in my life seen ICE agents dressed from head to toe, all covered up like the Ku Klux Klan, with assault weapons, flashbang grenades, beating up on women.
Define. You already know what I'm going to say. Define assault weapons.
Define assault weapon. Excuse me, former mayor and former Speaker of the Assembly and a former civil rights activist and whatever else you want to pump out your chest
All
about.
those things.
All those things you want to be humble about. Define assault weapon. We'll give you 1 minute. You can use the whole minute. Define what an assault weapon is. Also, wearing ball caps and I guess those like ski masks is now dressed like the Ku Klux Klan. I mean, is that the Klan's new uniform? Is baseball caps and ski masks? I guess.
I just want to know if those ICE agents are paying their taxes.
Are they working hard and paying their taxes like Tony Thurman wants them to?
Children and innocents, arresting 170 U.S. citizens.
Wait, children are being killed?
He stopped himself. Did you hear that? He goes, hey, be arrested. He like stopped himself because he was gonna say killing, and it's like, nope. Even as out of touch as you are, Antonio Villaraigosa, and you have to use your thumb to count what point you're on. They're not killing children, but
killing 2 people in the last 2 weeks. We will stop ICE. We will stand up for America's Constitution. We will stand up for civil liberties in this state when I'm governor. And what I've said, yes, we will pass those laws, all of them, to protect our civil liberties in this state. But we will do more. We will use the courts. We will use the ballot box. I come out of the movement, and I'll tell you what, we're going to build a mass peaceful movement in support of our rights and in support of our democracy. We've got to say no to ICE, and we've got to take on Trump wherever he raises his ugly head.
Dignified.
That was
Really
so
dignified.
bridge.
You and I brought this up before. The current year is 2026. You, as future California governor, will not be inducted or inaugurated, not inducted, this is in the Hall of Fame, inaugurated until 2027, meaning you have little over a year or so with Donald Trump left in office. Most of you are campaigning on the fact that you're going to be anti-Trump. Most of your time as governor, Trump will not be president. What is your solution to the rest of the problems that you can't blame on Trump? That's the question I would ask. If I were any of those presenters, I'd say, look, you're all sitting here bashing Trump. He's not going to be president forever. So what are solutions? And don't mention Donald Trump because he won't be around forever. But
Right.
I don't think any of them can. They'll just I'm looking at somebody said, Iceman said his security detail are masked up with assault rifles. Somebody said the KKK were Democrats. Yeah.
True.
Um,
Here's the thing is they all keep saying, I'm going to abolish ICE. Okay. Besides the fact that they can't abolish ICE, what is their plan to abolish ICE? Like they say free puppies and ice cream for everyone. Okay. But how are you going to provide these free puppies and ice cream for everyone? Is the government going to start breeding puppies? Like how do you get to your point?
mhm.
Like I could stand here and tell you that I'm going to buy a $5 million home next year. And you're going to be like, I know you could be able, and I know that you actually can't afford a $5 million home. So what's your plan to afford the $5 million home? But that's all they talk about is we're going to do this and this and this. But how are you going to do this and this and this? Nobody has any meat in their solutions.
Yeah. This whole debate was like this. There was no solutions at all. No one
Well, this
really.
is just like how everyone is, and that's what's so frustrating is they're all just full of ideas, and ideas are great, but if you can't execute them,
Mhm.
just see your way out.
Head.
Mayor Villaraigosa, thank you so much. Ms. Yee, your response.
Thank you. First of all, as a proud daughter of immigrants, what I want to say to our immigrant communities, I see you, I know you, and I hear you. And we're going to do everything we can to keep you safe. We're going to be sure that our communities are standing up for you. Everyone should be taking a Know Your Rights training to be sure that we know how to stand up for you and to keep you safe. But here's what we need to do in addition to. We need to build economic power in our immigrant communities to be sure that we can resist against this mass immigration enforcement when people understand that immigrants are such a contributor to our economy and to our society here in California. And that's what we're going to build together. We are a sanctuary state. We're going to lean in more to that and be sure that we are making our own communities safe. ICE has no business coming in and tearing up communities, tearing up families, and we're going to help bring you back into the fold. You pay taxes. What I want to say to you, all of the immigrants out there, thank you.
So she sees you underdogs. She sees you immigrants.
She sees you. She wants you to get. She wants you to come back into the fold, so you can pay taxes. That was her.
Yeah.
That was a lot of gobbledygook of not really sure. Like, I stand with you. I see you. We're gonna do Know Your Rights training so we can take care of you. Who's the we that's taking care of you? ICE doesn't belong here. We're gonna keep ICE out. You can't keep ICE out unless you want to secede from the United States. Have fun with that. Um, a lot of these people, like, either they are too stupid to understand that what you're proposing can't be done, or they're just such bald-faced liars that they know they can't do this, but they tell voters this anyway just so they get their votes. It's either one or the other. Like, there's no in between. You're either too stupid to understand that, like, these solutions don't work. Tony Thurman, you can't abolish ICE. Are we not teaching civics in California schools? Probably not.
Not those
This lady,
civics.
it was probably cut for something else. Like, either you're too stupid to understand civics and federalism and how our government works, or you're lying, because these are things you cannot do. And it's one or the other. And I'll let the chat figure out what either they're too stupid or they're all liars. All right, next, this is probably our last clip for tonight. Let's do, I think homelessness or affordability.
Are you asking me?
Yeah.
I need to count on my fingers.
You're going to count on your fingers?
You choose. Just queue up whatever.
Let's see. Let's talk about affordability.
Yeah, actually, I was going to say that. So.
Okay. Yeah, let's talk. This is a good one.
Can't make rent at the end of the month. But I'm also in favor of building 1 million houses. And the ability to do that is not just, there's no silver.
The government does not build houses.
I want to see these guys get out there and like nail two boards together.
I want to see them do the old Jimmy Carter where they go out there and they're actually out there like Habitat for Humanity. Like, they're out there building houses. They're like, where's the governor? He's too busy. He's out there building 1 million houses because that's what he promised. Tom Steyer's out there building 1 million houses. The government doesn't build housing. It doesn't. It's either the government gets out of the way so you can build more housing, or there's no or. It's you get out of the way so that developers can build housing. Or you try and build state housing, which nobody wants to live in that anyway.
There's no silver bullet. It's silver buckshot. We need to deal with permitting. We need to deal with zoning. And we also need to build houses much cheaper on a per square foot basis, which we can do with new technology. But the other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go after the electric monopolies that charge us twice as much for electricity as the average in the United States of America. Monopolies always overcharge and underproduce. And lastly, I'm going to bring money to the table, revenue to the table. I'm going to close 2 corporate tax loopholes a real estate loophole and a place where they declare their income and bring 15 to 20 billion dollars to Californians every year. That goes to healthcare, that goes to childcare, and that goes to education. We need revenues, and I'm going to bring them. I've done this before. I'll do it as governor.
California, I'm sure people watching and listening, California does not have a revenue problem. It does not. It does not have a revenue problem. The proposed budget for this year is like $350 billion by Gavin Newsom. We don't have a revenue problem. We have an absolute spending problem. And people like Tom Steyer who say we're going to cut these tax loopholes. I don't know if anyone saw the news today that Mark Zuckerberg has left California.
Mm-hmm.
He's officially moved to Florida, which means that the total now is $2 trillion of wealth has left California just on the premise that there is a billionaire's tax trying to get on the ballot. It hasn't qualified yet, nor is it even on the ballot, but just the mere mention of a billionaire's tax has sent $2 trillion of wealth fleeing out of the state. And Tom Steyer is sitting here talking about closing more loopholes to punish the rich. And let's see where everyone else goes. That's not going to create more revenue. People are just going to head to the exit. They're just going to head to Florida. They're going to head to Texas. They'll walk over to Arizona. Like, it's not, you don't have a revenue problem. You have a spending problem. That is the bottom line. And Mr. Businessman, I walked away from billions of dollars, Tom Steyer, should know, of all people, that California makes enough money. They just don't spend it well.
I think we both agree with what he said about the power companies. However, he hasn't said exactly what his solution for the monopoly is. And it's likely government, which is, again, not a solution. That just somehow increases our taxes. It's just, you know, I don't know, because he hasn't said a solution. Again, he's just, they always say or he hasn't said how. They always just say their solution, like I just ranted about a couple minutes ago.
Mm-hmm.
But as governor.
Thank you, Mr. Steyer. Mr. Thurman, your plan on day one to lower prices.
You know, I grew up in a household where we often didn't have food. I grew up on the free lunch program. I grew up on food stamps and a whole lot of government cheese. We ate so much government cheese that I thought that USDA was a brand name. These programs help my family to overcome poverty, and I know what it is for those who are struggling. Many are working 2 jobs just to make ends meet. On day one, I'm going to give all of you a tax credit, so you have a few $100s a month more in your pocket to help you pay for the high costs of groceries, of gas, and...
Slow clap for Tony Thurman. Thank you, Tony, for giving us a tax credit so we could all get a couple extra $100 for those necessities of groceries and gasoline. Thank you. Thank you, benevolent leader, for giving us an extra couple $100. And also, can a governor give a tax credit? Isn't that the legislature who has to sign off on any sort of credit? You can't on day one as governor give a tax credit. It has to pass through the legislature. Government cheese, USDA.
I'm so over this debate.
And this is the second time we're watching it. We've already sat through the whole 2.5 hours, and this is the best we could come up with. This is the best we pulled from 2.5 hours.
I watched the debate and like kind of would like tune out. Then you're like, we're going to talk about the debate, and you were like, here's the timestamps. So I had to watch again, and now here I am.
This is your third time watching them.
And housing. And how are we going to accomplish this? I will be clear and direct about it. We're not going to tax you. We're going to tax billionaires who've earned so much off of everything that this state has to offer to make sure we have more revenue for you, for our schools, and
billionaires who are fleeing towards the exit, just to be clear.
And for health care. And so we're prepared to get this done on day one. And I'm going to build 2 million housing units so that we have affordable housing all across our state.
Thank you, sir.
$2 billion.
Mayor Villaraigosa, your plan on affordability, sir.
Homes.
Take a shot.
I grew up in a home with a single mom who struggled to make ends meet, raising 4 kids on her own. I know affordability. That's why I've been saying for a long time now, politicians love to acknowledge and celebrate the fact that we have the fourth largest economy in the world. What they don't say is we have the highest poverty rate in the United States of America. So what do we do with housing? We cut red tape. We streamline our environmental rules. We make zone changes, and we invest in a first-time buyer program. Utilities, we got to stop over-relying on electricity.
So he brought up this first time buyers program, which has been implemented as part of one of Gavin Newsom's half baked ideas, where the state of California, and now I can't remember the name of it, but the state of California is basically loaning money to first time home buyers for a down payment. The caveat is you have to pay that back at some point. It's not free money. They're not giving you the free money. The state's going to make money off of it. And the caveat is that if the value of your home goes up after you put this down payment on, the state recoups a certain amount more on their down payment as like a return on investment. So you have to pay them back plus interest based on the capital gains of your home when you pay it back. If you default and you don't pay it back, the state now owns an interest in your home, which means that the state can then foreclose on your home and the state will effectively own your home. That was their first time home buyers program that the state came up with. I don't know if it's really doing anything. I don't know anybody. I think they opened up the application process and there were so many applicants, it crashed. I think we talked about this. They ran out of money and it crashed. But either way,
They
I don't think it's a
definitely
good
like right away filled it up, and then they opened it up to undocumented immigrants, but there was no room for undocumented. Like it was like
Mm,
another like virtue
yes.
signaling thing. Like okay, I say like too much, you guys. I apologize. So they basically were saying undocumented immigrants, it doesn't matter what your status is, you can apply for this loan. However, we're already maxed out at applications, so you can't apply for this loan. And I haven't heard about it opening up again. I'm not sure where it stands. I don't know if it's like an annual thing, a lottery. Like I don't know how this works, but I remember that's what they did with it.
Yeah, I remember we covered it because it was a big uproar about how California was giving money to undocumented immigrants, undocumented citizens, whatever, illegal immigrants, for down payments on homes, and it made national news because people were like, "Oh my god!" And then we looked into it, and we talked about it. It was like, yes, they opened it, but there was no money left anyway, so it was completely just a empty promise and just virtue signaling by Gavin Newsom and all them.
The notion, and by the way, when I was mayor, #1 American city in reducing carbon emissions, #5 in the world. The port, which is the biggest emitter of greenhouse gases in the United States of America, is the greenest port. We've got to acknowledge we're going to have an all of the above strategy when it comes to energy. And finally, gas prices, the way to end them to be so high is to address the fact that we overregulate refineries who produce the cleanest fuel in the United States of America.
That's your time, sir. Thank you. Ms. Yee, your answer on affordability.
Sure. So first, we've got to be sure that we are bringing new housing units online much more quickly. So this means expediting approval processes, but also looking at where we can build, how we can build, using our financial tools a lot better. I do want to bring back redevelopment because we know in every jurisdiction, there are places where we can build quickly, where we are talking about rehab and reuse, adaptive reuse, and we can bring some units online much more quickly and not have to think about the underlying cost of the land. With respect to energy, look, immediate relief. I know many of you have been just really shouldering a lot of rate increases from your utilities, just one after another after another. They need to be audited to be sure that they have really raised just what they needed rather than probably owing you a refund. So I would say if CPUC, get to your auditing job and be sure that you're giving us the oversight that consumers deserve.
Again, not to beat a dead horse here, Betty Yee is the controller of California. This is a statewide position. It's not a little position. It's a big, important position. It's up there with attorney general. It's up there with superintendent. Like, these are big positions. Where were these solutions until the moment they came out of your mouth right now at this debate? is that not important to you to go over to CPUC and bring this up? Is this not what, like,
Right.
they all have these big solutions, yet they've all been in state government at the highest levels. Xavier Becerra was attorney general. You have Tony Thurman, who's superintendent. You have Betty Yee, who's controller. You were all like 2 steps away from the governor. And now all of a sudden you have all these solutions. It's like, where have you been? So,
Yeah. It doesn't feel genuine. Like they were holding on to these ideas just for them to be able to run on something higher, the
mhm.
governor's office. And so it's almost like they just didn't care until they needed to care.
Yeah. These issues were not important to them until they needed to be important to them so they could run for governor.
Deserve. And then healthcare. We have so many that are on the fringe of losing their healthcare. We have to grow this economy and really center it on growing our healthcare workforce throughout the state of California. That's how we grow the economy, generate our revenue, and also be able to keep those that are on health coverage insured.
Thank you,
Okay,
Missy.
did I miss
Secretary
something?
Becerra.
She said healthcare, we have to grow our economy because so many are on the verge of losing their healthcare. So we need to grow our economy so they could afford the healthcare. Then she added a couple more words and then said, that's how we grow our economy. But I didn't hear anything about that's how we grow our economy, just that we need to grow our economy. Did I miss
Oh, you
something?
no, you didn't miss anything. There was no solution there about how
Okay.
to grow the economy. She just said we have to grow it. So, because if you grow it, then more people will be on healthcare, and people being on healthcare helps grow the economy.
Okay.
Just so everyone's clear about that out there.
I
Secretary Becerra.
I'm gonna mull that one over and try to figure out what that means. But okay.
Yeah. It's kind of like the sock elves from South Park. Collect socks. Next step. Third step, profit.
Secretary Becerra, your answer on affordability, sir.
So let's start by focusing on working families because some folks can afford whatever California gives, but some people work hard like my parents did, and it's always tough. And so first and foremost, working families, the hardest working, the lowest paid. We have to make sure we're there for them. That means once I am in office, I will move to freeze utility rates and home insurance costs, the premiums you pay, until we find out why they keep going up by so much money. You're entitled to know that. I will make sure we're building, as everyone is.
Okay. That's the reason why we have an insurance crisis. That's exactly why we have an insurance crisis in California, is because the state froze how much they could increase their rate and capped how much they could charge. So insurance companies were like, well, we're not going to insure these homes if we can't increase our rates that makes sense for what we are insuring. It's just the basic economics of the insurance industry. So freezing insurance rates brings you back to the same spot of California because they can't make money here, and they're allowed to make money. I know most of the Democrats on that stage hate the idea of people making money, except for maybe Tom Steyer. But yeah, that's the exact reason.
As everyone has said, I'll increase supply. I will trim regulations where it's smart. I will make sure our construction goes up where there are transit hubs. I will stabilize rents so renters aren't being gouged. I'll make sure.
How do you stabilize?
I don't know.
Are you going to control
You're kind of cutting out. I don't know if you're cutting out for the audience.
California?
For me.
Am I back?
You're
Did I
here
lose you for a
you're
sec?
here and there. Now,
Oh,
real
okay.
quick, did he say? I thought he said freeze utility rates. It was insurance?
Yes, he said freeze utility rates and then freeze insurance rates
Okay,
and
okay.
cap them. So
You would think after watching this 3 times, I would have it memorized. Well, I think that's our show. He, we lost him right at 9:05, so we went a few minutes over, and well, he's back, but
Yeah, sorry, I'm back.
I
I don't
was
know
like,
what
"That's
happened.
our show."
That's it. That it. That that it. That. All right, let's see if we can finish up this clip real quick.
Can't make rent at the end of the month.
Secretary Becerra, your answer on affordability, sir.
Stabilize rents so renters aren't being gouged. I'll make sure, as the former secretary of HHS, that we protect everyone's health care. We will not go backwards, regardless of what happens in Washington, D.C. And we will stabilize our clean energy transition so we don't leave working families behind who can't afford an electric vehicle. And finally, childcare. We have to fight to make childcare affordable for every family.
Secretary Becerra, thank you. Mr. Hilton, 1 minute to you, sir.
The biggest driver of the high cost of living is Democrat policies. They've been in power for 16 years. Who else is there to blame? If you add up the average budget for the rest of the country and compare it to the average household budget here in California, here's the difference: $35,000 a year. That is how much the average Californian is paying extra just for Democrat policies. You can look up your own if you like. We did a website just so you can calculate it. CaliforniaDemTax.com. See how much they're charging you. Here's what I'll do on day one. I announced the first one last week. Vehicle registration. Everywhere else in the country, pretty much, it's under $100 a year to renew your registration. Here, $600, $700, $1,000. Some people paying over $2,000. That's because they're charging all these extra fees that go into their bottomless money pit. On day one, I will cap vehicle registration at the flat fee of $71.
Okay. Might be a good place to end right there. All right. So, final thoughts about the debate. I want to see what the chat was saying. Somebody said, I thought Becerra was under a criminal investigation. No, his former campaign manager, who was also the chief of staff for Gavin Newsom, that's who is under investigation. So, not him. It was his campaign funds. So, he's tied to it. They haven't implicated him yet, but so that's the highlights of the gubernatorial debate.
That is so sad.
Nothing really sparking. I mean, nothing really controversial. Nobody really debated each other's ideas. It was just kind of round robin of grandstanding. But we figured we needed to talk about it and point out that a lot of these candidates are pretty lackluster and not impressive. And some of them, like Tony Thurmond, are either just dumb or liars. So, what are your final thoughts before we sign off for tonight?
I want to see a debate between Steve Hilton, Chad Bianco, Eric Swalwell, and Katie Porter. That I feel like could get really spicy.
It might end up being just those couple at the end, because I don't think Betty Yee is going to be around forever.
No, I don't even think Tony Thurmond is really polling.
He's not polling.
So many people running who are just, they're just really not polling. Daniel Mercury, I think he ran in the special election and then in 2022, and he's running again this year. He was a Republican, but he just announced that he has left the Republican Party and is registered no party preference because he's just very disenchanted with the GOP. Leo Zaki has been running since he was old enough to run, I think, and he has not been polling. But now Matt Mahan may make waves. I don't know. People seem to like him. Maybe he's just younger and has fresh ideas. He's a little more eloquent, and he has done things in San Jose that have like made a little bit of movement with affordability, with homelessness and stuff. Like, I know that he's actually done a few things up there, or I think he's done a few things up there. It sounds like it. So he's one to watch, but he does seem to be more moderate. It's hard to say, again, like I don't know who I'm voting for, but it's hard to say just because there were some of the top candidates missing from this debate. And can we even call it a debate?
I don't think it was a debate. I think it was a round robin presentation of tell us your point of view. So there was,
which is, I mean, it's good to know. It's good information.
But none of the points even really, like a lot of the stuff you watched and none of it really connected the dots. It's also tough to really detail what you're trying to say in a minute. Yeah, I think when it whittles down to less people, it will get spicier and more informative. It needs to be cut down to like the top 4 people. It can't be 12 people on the stage talking because it nobody needs to hear from Betty Yee. I'm sorry. She might be a
Right.
lovely woman, but you're not going to be governor, so we don't need to hear your point of view. We don't need to hear Tony Thurmond talk about how he's going to abolish ICE because he's polling at 0.5%. Like there's a lot of people who just Antonio Villaraigosa probably not in the top 10 at all or close. It's just like we don't need to hear from these people. So next debate, hopefully they whittle it down to the people who are actually polling well and could move on. And I think yeah, missing Katie Porter and Bianco and Eric Swalwell deflated the whole debate. But anyway, a lot of them don't really have great plans. A lot of it seems like more of the same: universal health care, protect every single undocumented citizen you can, and put them above everybody else, and tax everybody into death. And
Do not forget to abolish ICE.
don't forget, the next California governor is going to abolish ICE from Sacramento. I don't know how they're going to do that, but it's going to be one hell of a trick to see. All right. With that said, that's our show for tonight. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in and hanging out with us. As always, we'll be back next Tuesday, same time, live at 8 p.m. here on YouTube. The best thing you can do that is 100% free to support the show is you can go ahead and share this with somebody who you think will find this interesting. Tell them about the show. Tell them to tune in on Tuesday or on the audio. Or they can go to CaliforniaUnderground.live and check out some of our merch, like this awesome mug that says political affiliation, Democrat, Republican, or tear it all down and start all over, which I feel like a lot of people are kind of at that stage right now. So with that, we'll see you on the next one. Later, everybody.